Or maybe it's not that confusing, I don't know. It's just that we've had a blowout both ways now, and we have had scheme differences from both teams really from game 1 to game 2, and well, let's talk about it. And, Smart and Horford were back in this one, no Kyle Lowry, and that one seemed to matter a bit more in this one. Before diving into specifics, I think the big takeaways from this game are the Celtics switched more often, which bothered Miami's offense a lot more because there was a tad more drop coverage in game 1. And the other thing is that the Celtics did have an insane shooting stretch, no doubt, but their passing, specifically against traps or double teams or whatever you want to call it, was just really good. I mean, there were a bunch of skip passes. I remember there was a stretch where Dedmon was stepping up real high on Jalen on screens, and Jalen just kind of got by him and kicked it out to Pritchard for, I believe, a corner three. There was another time where it was Dedmon playing super high on Jalen. I think he and Jimmy double-teamed Jalen on the left wing, and it was just a swing to Horford top of the key, another pass to Smart on the right wing. That was a three. There was that one where PJ Tucker was face guarding Tatum, basically trying to deny him the ball. Tatum went up super high and then just cut down to the basket. I don't remember if that resulted in a basket for him or a pass to somebody, but it was a bucket. There was that Jalen Grant Williams, basically a pick and pop where they trapped Jalen on the top of the key and Grant was open on the right. This all sounds pretty basic, but I don't have any other way to describe it. Like, it was pretty much, they were really aggressive guarding the Celtics ball handlers. The Celtics moved the ball and they got threes. I mean, there was that one where Horford was in the post and there was a lot of attention on him, and then he had that great bounce pass to Grant Williams in the opposite corner. There was that one at the top of the key where Pritchard screened for Tatum and there was a miscommunication where PJ Tucker and Tyler Hero both went to Tatum, so Pritchard was open on the wing. And then, of course, you're just going to get your Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum being really good, Marcus Smart crossing up Max Strus that one time for that mid-range jumper. So we'll see how Miami wants to play it. One possibility being zone defense. They did bust it out for a little bit of this game, but they didn't commit to it that hard. My guess is the Celtics are more equipped now to deal with a zone than they were in the bubble, because the screen setting and the passing and the skip passes and all that, it's way better than it's ever been with this team. To speak on Time Lord's defense, I remember a few stretches where he was still in a drop coverage with Jimmy trying to screen at him, and Marcus did a really good job of just fighting around the action to not just give Jimmy the driving lane all the time. It also seemed like Time Lord was more effective in being a help guy this time, playing off of PJ Tucker. I think there were some possessions on Gabe Vincent, but to get back to the drop thing, the Celtics are going to not just switch any sort of an action. You might have to lean into that action as much as possible. I mean, there was Duncan Robinson who came into the game for a bit, and I think the first play he was out there, they ran an action for him where it was, your classic handoff, and Grant Williams was guarding, I want to say it was Bam, and then Bam just ran the action with Duncan, and Grant dropped. Duncan did have some daylight on the shot. He missed two. They got an offensive rebound. He got it back, but statistically speaking, that is a shot that you would probably want to get more of. Now, of course, with Duncan Robinson, the question is, can the Celtics just hunt him on the other end? I mean, they were running stuff to have Tatum screening to get Hero switched onto him a bit in this game, and they do the same thing to Duncan Robinson, no doubt. Speaking of Tyler Hero, because that's another thing, right? If there's ever going to be drop coverage, he can get into his pull-ups, and there was a possession very early in this game where he did, and then I think that was one of the reasons Udoka called time, and he was like, all right, screw it, we're switching now. But they did trap Hero for some possessions, and he did seem pretty overwhelmed. I don't think you can do it all the time, but if you bust it out randomly, then we'll see. I mean, now, as I say that, I do remember a play from game 1 where they did, hedge pretty hard on a Hero screen, and I think it led to a bounce pass with somebody scoring at the rim. So we'll see, man. That is why I'm officially confused with this series, because the first two games were so different from one another. Schemes, results, and all that. Now, Miami can tell themselves, look, Jimmy was still awesome in this game. We will see if it gets to the point where he can really mismatch hunt as much as he really wants to. Even so, he's had some moments where he'll just blow by Jaylen Brown on a play that is kind of not going anywhere. Gabe Vincent will have these random tough shots that he just makes when the possession's kind of dead. So there's little things to be happy about, and of course it's still a 1-1 series going back to Boston. The Celtics shot outrageously well in this game, so I think we're in for a pretty good series here. Although that may require Bam just being more of a scorer. But it's not going to be simple. I mean, to open up the second half, the Heat ran a Bam Jimmy pick and roll from the left wing. I'm looking at it on Twitter. And the Celtics switched it, so it ended up with Marcus on Bam, Horford on Jimmy. And as that was happening, you had Time Lord standing right underneath the basket, so even if Bam did have a little bit of a daylight on a roll, it's not really there. PJ Tucker was in the corner, but Max Strus was too close to him, so the pass would have just gotten stolen from Jalen, who was defending Strus. So we'll see. It could be a spacing thing. It could be a looking for Bam more often. It could be a just simply being like, screw it, I'm going to take over on this possession. There's a perfect balance with all that, and I do trust Spoelstra in Miami to figure it out.